In the annals of true crime, few stories send shivers down the spine quite like that of the Golden State Killer. It all began on a fateful June night in 1976, when a man broke into a quiet home in Rancho Cordova, a Sacramento suburb, forever changing the lives of an unsuspecting woman. Over the next decade, the reign of terror that ensued would rock California to its core. Dubbed the East Area Rapist, original Night Stalker, and Visalia Ransacker, this elusive predator would strike fear into the hearts of countless communities. From the mid-70s to the mid-80s, he roamed the streets, leaving a legacy of unspeakable crimes and unsolved mysteries. But in a twist that no one could have predicted, justice finally caught up with the mysterious predator decades later, unveiling a story of horror, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Welcome back to True Crime Expresso, where we cover solved and unsolved crimes and serve up the darkest mysteries and chilling tales from every corner of the globe. Join us as we unravel a story of a relentless predator whose reign of terror cast a chilling shadow over California for years, a shadow that would eventually be dispelled by the determined pursuit of justice and the unyielding strength of survivors. This is a story that will leave you breathless as we unravel the secrets behind how the Golden State Killer was ultimately brought to justice. In the summer of 1976, a quiet Sacramento suburb was about to be gripped by fear. It all began on June 18th, when a home became a nightmare. A woman's haven turned into a scene of terror as a mysterious figure, like a shadow, broke in. The name East Area Rapist would soon haunt the region, leaving a chilling trail of 38 connected assaults over the span of 2 years. But this wasn't just about breaking and entering. This was about breaking souls. His twisted dance included stalking, leaving gruesome tokens of twine behind, a twisted preview of the horrors to come. At first, he preyed on those living alone, but his hunger for control escalated, couples becoming his tragic stage. The darkness was further punctuated by his calls to the authorities, his taunts, a cruel melody of his looming presence.
Hello? Hello?
As March of 1977 rolled in, the nightmare continued with the 15th attack, a stark reminder that this relentless predator still held the strings, defying a city's desperate grasp. In late 1977, a twisted game of words began to unfold. The Sacramento Bee and the city's mayor found themselves in the clutches of eerie letters, supposedly from the East Area Rapist himself. A disturbing poem titled Excitement's Crave adorned the pages, along with an unsettling demand for a movie deal to fund his escape. As the calendar flipped to 1978, the nightmare didn't wane. It only grew darker. Past victims, already burdened by their traumas, were targeted anew with ominous phone calls that spoke of death. These threats echoed through the years, persisting until 2001, a constant reminder of the tormentor's grip on the city's psyche. Then, a spine-chilling twist. Just a day after a newspaper article linked the original Night Stalker and the East Area Rapist, a victim received a call. A voice dripping with sinister nostalgia asking, "Remember when we played?" But the horrors extended beyond taunts and threats. In a quiet Rancho Cordova neighborhood on February 2, 1978, a couple's walk with their dog ended in gunfire and tragedy. The shadows of uncertainty loomed for almost 4 decades, until 2016, when the pieces finally fell into place, connecting the dots between the East Area Rapist and the haunting murders of Brian and Katie Maggiore.
Just suggest make sure that all your windows are locked and your doors.
We're getting an awful lot of calls, people reporting prowler calls, suspicious circumstances. Some people even turning in their neighbors because they think he might be the rapist. I would hope that people really don't take this for any more than another rape. We have rapes in Concord like any other city. There are precautions that people can take as far as locking up their homes, but
by late 1978, the grip of terror stretched its fingers to the Bay Area. As months unfolded, the map of dread expanded, with reports of rapes surfacing in San Jose, Danville, Fremont, and Walnut Creek. The haunting trail of darkness carved its way through these neighborhoods, a malevolent force leaving scars in its wake. But all things, even nightmares, have an end. The last shiver-inducing attack within the Bay Area unfolded in July of 1979, closing a chapter on this bone-chilling spree of violence. Then the terror that once gripped North California had its echoes resonate through the quiet streets of Southern California. The killer found its way to Goleta on a fateful day, October 1st, 1979. On a seemingly quiet day, his sinister presence shattered the peace. Breaking into a couple's home, he bound them with twine, their desperate struggle echoing in the air. A chilling threat, "I'll kill him," hung in the room as the couple seized a chance to escape, their cries ringing out. The intruder fled on a bicycle, leaving behind a discarded knife and a trail of fear. But darkness lingered. Just a few months later, on December 30th, tragedy struck again. Robert Offerman and Deborah Alexandra Manning were found lifeless in Offerman's Goleta condominium, gunshots silencing their voices. Amidst it all, a stolen bicycle and the shadows of nearby residences spoke of a grim spree about to unfold. This marked the beginning of a new, chilling chapter in Southern California's history. In the shadows of 1980, the horrors continued. March 13th marked the discovery of tragedy in a Ventura home. Charlene Smith and Lyman Smith's lives extinguished when their home turned into a crime scene. This time, a woodpile's log was used as an instrument of horror. Bound wrists and ankles told a tale of captivity, the drapery cord a cruel captor. But there was more, a chilling detail that connected these dots of terror. A diamond knot, an eerie signature seen before in the East Area Rapist attacks, marked Charlene's wrists, creating a link between nightmares. The moniker Diamond Knot Killer was a chilling badge for a brief moment. August 19th brought another scene of horror, this time in Dana Point's Niguel Shores. Keith Eli Harrington and Patrice Briscoe Harrington, a young couple full of dreams, met a tragic end. Bludgeoned in their own home, the brutality was immeasurable. Patrice, a nurse, met a fate worse than death, and the evidence spoke of bound wrists and ankles, but the instruments of their demise remained a sinister mystery. A marriage of 3 months cut short, leaving shattered hearts in its wake. Then on February 6th, Manuela Wittun's life was cruelly stolen in her Irvine home. Signs of binding were etched into her tragic story, but no weapon or ligatures remained to tell the tale. Alone and vulnerable, her husband hospitalized, she became the victim of a chilling attack. A TV was discarded in the backyard, an attempt to obscure the truth with the veneer of a failed robbery. Sherry Domingo and Gregory Sanchez became the 10th and 11th victims of the original Night Stalker. Their Goleta residence turned into a nightmare, a bathroom window granting entry to a heartless intruder. Sanchez's bravery was evident as he faced the killer, perhaps recognizing the cruel specter from past horrors. Domingo's fate was sealed in a ruthless act of violence, her body scarred by unspeakable brutality. As days passed, 7 more souls were claimed in their own homes, a string of murders leaving scars on Santa Barbara and Irvine. Tied and assaulted, victims bore the hallmarks of a relentless predator, a sinister specter dubbed the original Night Stalker in Southern California, a name that whispered horror.
Lita Broadhurst and her husband picked Rancho San Miguel as just the sort of nice neighborhood they wanted. But recently she was mugged, and now the rapes have occurred.
What's really horrible is the kids know about them. I was up at the swim club, and they had a sign saying, "Lock your homes, as a prowler in the neighborhood." And a 10-year-old boy came up to me and said, "Oh, it's not a prowler, it's a rapist. Why don't they say rapist?" Really? I mean, the kids just know. Even my kids are getting frightened.
Yet a divide remained, the dots of Northern and Southern California murders unconnected. The year 1981 saw a silence, a chilling interval, only to be broken 5 years later when the nightmare awakened once more. On May 4th, 1986, Janelle Lisa Cruz's life was cruelly snuffed out in her Irvine home. The weight of darkness pressed upon her young shoulders as she became a victim of rape and bludgeoning. Her family absent on a Mexican getaway, a sanctuary turned into a nightmare. The silence of her empty home was shattered by the force of a pipe wrench, suspected to be the weapon that stole her life. The Southern California murders seemed disjointed, separate from the grim specter that had haunted Northern California. A Sacramento detective's statement that the East Area Rapist was behind the Goleta horrors clashed with the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office's belief in a different perpetrator who met a violent end. These misunderstandings led investigators astray, with false leads pointing towards men who were close to the victims. A man wrongly accused, a community held captive by fear. TV writer Michelle McNamara embarked on a relentless pursuit of truth, breathing life into forgotten names, unraveling the web of terror woven by the elusive predator. Her research and blogs reignited the flames of justice, urging the world to remember the victims who had been silenced for too long. On June 15, 2016, the FBI took a significant step towards unraveling the mystery that had haunted California for decades. They unveiled fresh information about the crimes, accompanied by new composite sketches and intricate details of the acts. A reward of $50,000 was offered, igniting a renewed effort to bring the elusive perpetrator to justice. A nationwide database was launched, empowering law enforcement agencies to pool resources and information, breathing new life into the stalled investigations. But the real breakthrough came from the realm of science and genealogy. Through a groundbreaking approach, investigators turned to genetic genealogy, searching on GED Match, a personal genomics website. This innovative technique led them to distant relatives of the offender, spanning generations back to the 1800s. With this rich ancestry data, they constructed numerous family trees, eliminating suspects step by step, following clues of age, gender, and residence. Amid these intricate branches, one name stood alone: Joseph James DeAngelo Jr. The story of DeAngelo's identification began to unfold in December 2017. Guided by Detective Paul Holes and FBI lawyer Steve Kramer, they uploaded the killer's DNA profile from a Ventura County rape kit onto GED Match. The website's algorithms identified a cluster of individuals who shared the same great-great-great-grandparents as the Golden State Killer. A dedicated team alongside genealogist Barbara Ray Venter crafted an extensive family tree from this pool of potential matches. From this complex network, 2 suspects emerged. Through careful scrutiny and DNA tests, one was ruled out, leaving DeAngelo as the prime suspect. On April 18, 2018, in a covert operation, a DNA sample was gathered from the door handle of DeAngelo's car. Another crucial sample was later retrieved from a tissue discovered in DeAngelo's trash at the curb. And finally, on April 24, 2018, Joseph James DeAngelo was arrested in connection with the crimes attributed to the Golden State Killer. Sacramento County Sheriff's deputies took him into custody, charging him with 8 counts of first-degree murder, each accompanied by special circumstances. The weight of justice continued to bear down on him as the Santa Barbara County District Attorney's Office added 4 more counts of first-degree murder to his charges on May 10th. But who is he, the man behind the horrors? After his arrest, DeAngelo offered a cryptic insight into the twisted psyche that had fueled his reign of terror. He spoke of an inner person named Jerry, a malevolent force that had compelled him to commit the atrocities that had suddenly ceased in 1986. According to Sacramento County Prosecutor Thean Ho, DeAngelo's confession of sorts unfolded in a police interrogation room. In a moment of vulnerability, he revealed, "I didn't have the strength to push him out. He made me. He went with me. It was like in my head. He's a part of me. I didn't want to do those things. I pushed Jerry out and had a happy life. I did all those things. I destroyed all their lives. So now I've got to pay the price." The chilling words offered a glimpse into the inner turmoil that had fueled his reign of terror.
At least 12 murders, 45 rapes. They have been searching for more than 4 decades, and tonight the major clue that unlocked this just days ago. They say this is their man, Joseph DeAngelo, now 72, arrested outside his home. They surprised him. He spent years as a California police officer. He'd been married. ABC's Whit Johnson leads us off from California on the man dubbed the Golden State Killer.
Tonight, hiding in plain sight, police say one of the most elusive serial killers in American history has been captured outside his suburban home.
We found the needle in the haystack.
Despite his initial requests to speak to an attorney, detectives chose to proceed without legal representation, citing a legal theory that justified this decision. This potential violation of Miranda rights was deemed justifiable with the understanding that the interview could not be used against the defendant in court. The legal pursuit of justice for DeAngelo faced its own set of complexities. Due to the statute of limitations, charges for rapes and burglaries were off the table. However, he faced a daunting array of charges: 13 counts of murder and 13 counts of kidnapping. His journey through the legal system began with an arraignment in Sacramento on August 23, 2018. Prosecutors from 6 involved counties projected a $20 million cost to taxpayers and a trial spanning a decade. In April 2019, the stakes rose further. Prosecutors declared their intention to seek the death penalty, while the courtroom opened its doors to cameras during the trial. March 2020 brought an unexpected twist as DeAngelo offered to plead guilty provided the death penalty was off the table. However, this offer was not accepted at the time. On June 29, 2020, a plea bargain was struck to avoid the death penalty. DeAngelo entered a guilty plea, admitting to 13 counts of first-degree murder and special circumstances, including murders during burglaries and rapes, along with 13 counts of kidnapping. On August 21, 2020, the final chapter of this grim case was written. DeAngelo received multiple consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole.
And Joseph DeAngelo will face life in prison with no parole. He didn't say much of anything since he was arrested, didn't say anything throughout this trial, but today during his sentencing, he offered this.
I've listened to all your statements, each one of them. And I'm truly sorry to everyone I've hurt.
DeAngelo's methods were those of a calculated predator, evolving as his reign of terror continued. In his early days as the Visalia Ransacker, he would roam Visalia neighborhoods, peering through windows even in the broad light of day. At night, he would break into carefully chosen homes, ransacking their interiors and pilfering personal belongings and keepsakes. Armed with a flashlight, a ski mask, and at times a Morocco revolver, he left a trail of chaos, leaving victims in a state of fear and loss. As he transitioned to the East Area Rapist, his methods took a darker turn. He targeted middle to upper middle class neighborhoods, seeking out homes near secluded areas. With the cover of night, he broke into residences while the occupants were still inside. Initially focusing on single women, he later turned his attention to couples. Employing threats and a range of weapons, he'd subdue them and employ ligatures tied in a distinctive diamond knot. Women faced sexual assault, while men, if present, were restrained with dishes and saucers. A striking pattern emerged among the survivors who bravely shared their accounts with law enforcement. They consistently described the perpetrator's physical private part as less than impressive and small. DeAngelo's actions were those of a predator who wielded power through fear, leaving lives shattered in his wake. Under the alias Original Night Stalker, DeAngelo kept spreading fear and terror. In his modus operandi, he would first eliminate any present males through bludgeoning, then subject the females to sexual assault before ending their lives as well. The brutality of these acts was his chilling trademark. His first victims were shot, a pattern that shifted during his reign as the East Area Rapist. In the tragic case of Brian and Katie Maggiore, they were shot while walking their dog, caught in a twisted attempt that went awry. Throughout these crimes, a mask, often a ski mask, veiled his identity, leaving his victims with only a haunting, obscured figure to remember. His sinister legacy didn't end with the attacks themselves. Surviving female victims or relatives of the deceased would become targets of ongoing torment, subjected to harassing phone calls on the anniversaries of the assaults, even years or decades later. During the painstaking investigation, criminalists pieced together a psychological profile of the original Night Stalker. This portrait suggested that he was a young white male aged 18 to 25 when his reign of terror commenced. With eyes of blue or hazel, he stood between 5'8" and 5'11", exhibiting physical fitness. His likely shoe size was 9, and he possessed type A blood. A picture of his life emerged. He was believed to have resided in the Sacramento area from 1976 to 1979. He was a master of deception, often assuming various roles such as a realtor, building inspector, or potential home buyer. His proficiency in tying diamond knots was a chilling hallmark, revealing a level of preparation and sadistic skill. Additionally, he appeared to harbor bondage-oriented fantasies, perhaps engaging in such acts with female sexual partners and collecting pornographic material related to bondage. His arsenal was formidable, with ready access to an assortment of handguns, knives, and flashlights. The composite of these details painted a picture of a cunning, adaptable predator who operated in the shadows, leaving a trail of terror and uncertainty in his wake. He likely embarked on a path of voyeurism during his late teens or early 20s. In 1980, he is believed to have resided and/or worked in the vicinity of Ventura, California. Though he had a means of income, he avoided working during the early morning hours, possibly indicating a lifestyle adapted to his criminal pursuits. To blend seamlessly with his surroundings, he maintained a well-kept vehicle, potentially an older Volkswagen Beetle around 1977. His attire matched his calculated approach, allowing him to fade into the background in upscale neighborhoods. At first glance, he appeared innocuous, intelligent, and articulate. Neatness and organization were cornerstones of his personal life, indicating a meticulous nature beneath the facade. The dark shadows that marked his path were likely accompanied by an absence of long-term relationships. He demonstrated a chilling duality in his personal life, engaging in deviant paraphilic behavior and violent sexual acts, yet retaining the capacity for functional and non-consensual intercourse. The psychological profile further depicted a complex figure. Self-assured and confident, he harbored a deep-seated resentment towards women, possibly driven by real or perceived grievances. In an eerie parallel, Joseph James DeAngelo seemed to fit this profile remarkably well, both in his known actions and his personal attributes. Physically fit and an enthusiast of outdoor activities like biking, diving, fishing, and boating, even in later years, DeAngelo seemed to align with the physical capabilities mentioned in the profile. His background as a police officer adds a layer of insight into his knowledge of investigative methods. Neighbors described him as meticulous yet prone to explosive bursts of anger, a temperament that seemed consistent with the profile. His visits to strip clubs and conversations alluding to the East Area Rapist, coupled with his peculiar collection of melted gold and hand-cast bars, create a tapestry of a man whose darkness was carefully hidden. His reign of darkness left a scar on California's history. The investigation, marked by meticulous profiling and groundbreaking DNA technology, eventually led to the arrest and conviction of Joseph James DeAngelo. But some questions still linger. What motivated his descent into darkness? How did he manage to evade justice for so long? And what can we learn from his chilling case to prevent such horrors in the future? Let us know your thoughts down below.